Welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check for the week of March 18th, 2024. This is a quick weekly update on all things social media and big tech. First up is a heavy one. There is a massacre case in New York that I want to tell you about. On May 14th, 2022, 18-year-old Peyton Gendron walked into a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and opened fire. The attack was motivated by racism, and 10 people, all African Americans, were murdered and 3 were injured. Peyton live-streamed the attack on Twitch. He has since been sentenced to 11 consecutive life sentences. Now, how does this relate to social media? I'll tell you now. Social media played a huge role in influencing Peyton's white supremacy ideology. Families of the deceased are suing Meta, Snap, YouTube, Discord, Reddit, and a number of other platforms for their defective design, their negligence, and their failure to warn. These horrific acts by Peyton were motivated by white replacement theory. Peyton became aware of this concept from these online platforms. The algorithm prioritized posts related to this theory within Peyton's feed, further driving his motivation to commit the crime. In response to the lawsuit, the social media companies filed a motion to dismiss, saying that they are not responsible for what is posted on their platforms, that they are just message boards where users can post and interact with whatever they want. They cite Section 230, which is a law enacted in the 90s when these companies were just message boards. But today there's so much more. These platforms are sophisticated products designed to be addictive to young users, and in this case, they specifically directed Peyton to further platforms and posts that indoctrinated him with this white supremacy theory. While it was Peyton that committed the crime, would it have gotten to this point without the social media algorithms pushing this content in front of him again and again? The judge in New York has denied the social media company's motion to dismiss, and the case is moving forward. I'll be sure to keep you updated. Now we're going to talk about Pornhub. So Texas enacted an actual age verification law for pornography sites. You no longer just click a button to say that you're an adult. Users have to prove their age by either entering information from a government-issued ID or using a third-party system that uses public and private data, such as employment, education, or mortgage information to verify their age. In response, Pornhub has blocked access to their entire website in Texas, claiming that the law infringes on the rights of adults to access protected speech. Pornhub did not want to implement age verification software to prevent minors from accessing the site. I'm assuming because a lot of the users on Pornhub are minors. A Pornhub executive stated the age verification requirement was overboard and would do little to protect children. Not only will it not actually protect children, it will inevitably reduce content creators' ability to post and distribute legal adult content and directly impact their ability to share the artistic messages they want to convey. Pornhub and other adult sites say they do not oppose restricting their content from minors, but that the age requirements present a barrier for adults and force adults trying to access constitutionally protected material to hand over private data that could be stored or tracked by the state. Pornhub will likely appeal this ruling, and I'll keep you posted. But as a parent, I wish that my state would enact this law and, dare I say, implement actual age verification for social media. Just last week, I had 2 comments on my videos on Instagram saying I'm 10 and one kid saying I'm 8 years old. Social media sites are supposed to be for 13 and up, but if it's just the click of a button, the age limit is pointless. And social media is not safe for 8-year-olds. Next up, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced this week that the Justice Department has filed an antitrust lawsuit against Apple. This complaint has been signed by 15 states and the District of Columbia, alleging that Apple used its control of the smartphone market to prevent competitors from offering innovative services and limited the functionality of hardware products that compete with Apple. Apple's share of the entire U.S. smartphone market exceeds 65%, and the company charges nearly $1,600 for an iPhone. The suit claims that Apple makes it difficult for users to switch to non-Apple devices or communicate with non-iPhone devices. I'm sure we've all had issues messaging back and forth between an iPhone and an Android phone. Apple will vigorously defend this lawsuit. I wonder what your thoughts are. Personally, I'd love to see a societal shift to phones that make it easier to put them down, specifically for minors. More simple phones that do only what you want them to do and nothing else, giving us more control as a device owner. Now we're going to talk about cyber flashing. We used to worry about our kids going outside and predators getting a hold of them or flashing them. And now our kids spend most of their time online. So the predators have moved there too. And they are flashing our kids online, called cyber flashing, also known as sending a dick pic. In the UK, they passed a new online safety law that has actually criminalized cyber flashing, and the first offender has been jailed. Here in the US, only 2 states have laws penalizing cyber flashing. That's California and Texas. I hear literally every day about kids receiving dick pics from a predator on social media. It's almost just a normal part of your experience being on Snapchat or Instagram for a kid. And I think it's time we take this seriously. Kids should not have to be exposed to that. And I encourage more states to criminalize this act. Now, an update from US Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy. He did an interview with The Guardian that I think is worth sharing. Surgeon General Murthy cited research that proves young people are becoming less happy than older generations as they suffer the equivalent of a midlife crisis. Teenagers shouldn't be having midlife crises. Though this isn't surprising, we know that young people are struggling. And Dr. Murthy pointed to the failure of the governments to better regulate social media, saying that where we're at is insane. He still claims there's not enough research to say if social media is safe for children and adolescents. And there is growing research that social media is not safe for these age groups, like Jonathan Haidt's new book, which is called The Anxious Generation. So Jonathan Haidt is a social psychologist from New York University's Stern School of Business, and he researches social media and how it affects youth. He's basically the premier unbiased researcher in this space. He's been all over the news this week on Joe Rogan, talking about his new book, which hits the shelves in a few days. Jonathan is warning parents and society that the mass migration of childhood into the virtual world has disrupted societal and neurological development. Jonathan is calling for a worldwide shift in social norms, including 4 recommended adjustments: no smartphones before high school, no social media before 16, phone-free schools, and more independent, free play and responsibility in the real world. Let your kids be bored. Let your kids play outside and figure out what they're going to do. I am 100% on board with these 4 new societal norms. What about you guys? I'm currently in contact with Jonathan's team about an interview, and I want to get that done for you guys as soon as possible. Lastly, we have a new Meta whistleblower named Lottie Rubeck. She was a leading advisor for Instagram, but quit because of their failure to remove self-harm content. Now, Lottie is a psychologist. She was brought on by Meta in 2020 to make the platform safer. But it turns out it was all for show. For years, her suggestions were ignored. And now Lottie is speaking out and has made it clear that Meta turns a blind eye to harmful content on Instagram. They care only about profits. And she shares that Meta actively triggers vulnerable women and girls specifically to harm themselves. She claims that Meta uses harmful content to keep vulnerable people hooked to their screens. This is deplorable. No wonder young girls are more depressed and suicidal than ever. Meta needs to do better. Actually do better. Not just pretend to do better or say they're going to do better. Please start protecting our kids. That's all for this week. I'll be in touch next week with a new Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death.